All right. So now that I have this position, all I'm going to do is that I know that there's a big crevice right here, and I want to try to even that out as much as I can. So I'm just pushing clay to that crevice so that it's flat. Because what I want to eliminate is any chances of creating an air bubble. Like I said, gaps of clay, that's not good for sculptures. If it's enclosed, it'll likely expand in the kiln and break off and sometimes blow up. Now when I'm adding on the head, right, you definitely want to look at your reference photo and know that you're going to need some clay there initially, okay? You don't want to just combine your clay. You're going to want to refer to your image to see how much neck is needed for your project. And so for me, I still have some clay left over. I'm just going to put it into a cylinder, and I'm going to get ready to slip and score that on. So pretty much when you have a significant amount of clay that you're adding on, you always want to slip and score. And then anytime you put clay on, you also want to compress it to get rid of any air bubbles or gaps of clay. Now what I have isn't too pretty, but that's okay. I'm not aiming for pretty. I'm aiming for accuracy, for placement. All right, so I know when I press on the head here, I can see where the flat area is of my clay so that I could have good contact surface for slip and scoring. If it's a small contact surface, that head is going to want to fall off because of gravity. That's what heavy pieces of clay wants to do. It wants to break away from the joined areas. And I'll go ahead and I'll just compress and then blend. Blend on the top, and then on the bottom, right, we have some coiling to do. So get a small piece of clay, coil the bottom of the head where you can't see that well. Attach your coil, compress the coil. And that coil is also extra security that the head stays on the body and it doesn't fall off overnight. Now, before you store your work today, you want to have a couple things, right? You want to make sure you have a kickstand if all the limbs are attached, especially the legs. All right, if you don't get to attach on the head, during this period, it's not a big deal. But what is a big deal is if you have the legs attached, that if you have all of them attached, you must have a kickstand. If you have 2 of them attached and you have 2 more to go, it's still okay to lay the project on its side when you're storing it in a bag. All right. So the overall general form or big shape of this project is rough right now because I've been turning this project. I've been laying it on its side when I was attaching the first 2 legs. And overall, it's rough. All I've done is just added where I added clay. And that's about the only bright spot in terms of smoothness for this project. All right. All right, so now that it's right side up, you might also have realized that the storage or tile that you're placing it on is just too small. That's okay. If you have any flat surface, mine is a piece of wood. If you have a shelf to put this on for storage, that's completely fine. As long as you have enough space, like for it to not fall on outside, right? You don't want to put this somewhere like in a storage area where it's going to get nudged and fall over. You also want to check the stability of your piece. You want to make sure it's not rocking back and forth. So when you bag this up, like I said, you're going to need a bigger bag. You want that white bag. And I got another one, but it's actually like a bag packaging from one of my Amazon boxes that one of my packages came in. But before you put your project away, you can spray it to prevent it from drying out, right? You still want it to be malleable. The kickstand can dry, right? It can be more firm. We're not concerned about keeping the kickstand moist. But when you wrap it, you're going to want to wrap this thing all the way around, including the underside. And then you're going to want to try to eliminate as much air on the inside as possible. And also keep this stable too. As extra insurance, I have this big sponge that I could use to just help it keep it stable so it doesn't fall over.